What's behind me is not important.
Hey everybody, my name's Tim. I am an HPD instructor and track day enthusiast. I often get asked questions regarding track day events, which has led me to making this series of videos. What you'll see is a ton of comprehensive information as a collection of tips, tricks, and knowledge I've picked up along the way, as well as from research I've done on HPDE and my instructor training. There are few thrills in life as exciting as driving a track at speed. The number one goal is always good, safe fun. With that said, it's worth mentioning that there are risks inherent with performance driving at the track. Doing your homework beforehand can help mitigate these risks. If you have questions or other helpful tips or disagree with something I've said, please indicate so in the comments below. Whether you're contemplating your first track event or you have been to the track and are now looking to improve your game, hopefully you find this video series informative and it helps your HPD event be successful and fun. This is video 4 in the series of 6. In video 3, I covered track day packing checklist, HPDE terms and definitions, what to do once at the track, track fuel, tire pressures, driver seating position, track flags, track etiquette, and finally carbon fiber wheel special care instructions at the track. In this video, I'll be discussing track day driving, including your hands, car differences, getting on track, situational awareness, looking for outs, flag stations, speeds and lap times, straights, anatomy of a corner, corner management, braking, brake fade, brake loss, hand signals, passing, going off track, track incidents, red mist, cool down, between sessions, passengers, late day cautions, 3-pedal car clutch management, and heel toe. This is a lot to cover, so here we go. I talked about seating position in the last video. It's time to talk about your hands. Hold the steering wheel at 9 and 3. It gives you the best control of the wheel, plus having your hands on the sides of the wheel is better should your airbag deploy. Don't shuffle steer. Shuffle steering is what you've done your entire street driving life, but it is not for the track. An organization that I coach with will not allow a driver to advance to the next run group if they shuffle steer. Maintain good control of the steering wheel. If you catch a curb or have a blowout, you'll want both hands in control of the wheel. Keep a lighter but firm grip. Avoid a death grip and don't use bad street grip techniques. Car differences. Different cars are best utilized with different strategies at the track. You need to learn your car's strengths and weaknesses. There are lightweight, lower horsepower cars at the track, as well as heavyweight horsepower bruisers and even supercars. What works well for a Mazda Miata may not be the best strategy for a Dodge Challenger. Speed is a precious commodity for a lower horsepower car, and a flowing momentum line will be key to keeping their speed up and attaining better lap times. Whereas a heavier horsepower car will benefit greatly from a late apex line, unleashing the power on corner exit. Generally, a small, tight technical track will favor the lightweight, lower power car, and a big sweeping track will favor the heavyweight horsepower bruiser. A lightweight car will be able to navigate the corners at higher speeds than a heavyweight car and require less grip while doing so. There can be differences between front wheel, rear wheel, and all-wheel drive lines as well. Be careful following dissimilar cars through corners. Drive your line. Different drivers will have different lines with the same type cars as well. Going on track. A reminder from video 3, do not cross the blend line. Your first lap or two will be your warm-up laps. Your tires and brakes are cool when you first go on track. Your traction and braking won't initially be there with cold tires and cold brakes. Take it easy for 1 to 2 warm-up laps depending on the size of the track. Get heat in your tires and brakes before running full tilt boogie. Don't be that driver that spins out on the first lap or worse yet has an incident due to cold tires. My first lap was considerably slower. Depending on the length of the track, my second lap might be 75% or higher. Warm grippy tires help navigate corners. The heavier your car, the more traction it will need to successfully navigate these corners. I often get passed on the first lap or two by cars only to pass them on subsequent laps once my tire pressures and temperatures are good. As for how to add heat to your tires, turning and accelerating help, but the big heat adder will be braking. I use early, long brake applications going into corners during my warm-up laps. Keep in mind, tracks sometimes have a yellow flag during the first lap, which means no passing. Flags were covered in depth in video 3. Last point on warm-up laps, I avoid all curbing with lower starting tire pressures to avoid wheel and or tire damage. Once your tires are up to temp and pressure, don't expect to run 10/10ths into the corners right off the bat. Tire friction and track conditions change from day to day as well as session to session. Work your way into the corners by braking a little later on subsequent laps. In other words, ease into it. I tell my students to walk into the corners, meaning take it a little deeper on subsequent laps, finding what works for that day. A good strategy is to pick a corner or two and work on fine-tuning braking and corner management. It's worth mentioning that the only trophy is the one that you took to the track, your car. It's best to go home with your trophy still in the same condition. NASCAR scouts are not at the track looking for drivers. Stay in good control of your car. Situational awareness. Situational awareness, otherwise known as SA, is vital at the track. So what is situational awareness? Situational awareness is the ability to perceive relative elements in your environment, comprehend their meaning, and project future events based on that understanding to make informed decisions and respond effectively. You most likely won't have much SA as a new novice track driver. This is why you are paired with an instructor. Having good SA includes knowing what your car is doing as well as its limits. Having excellent SA is knowing the track, flag stations, brake zones, apexes, corner exit throttle strategies, and awareness of other vehicles on the track, including those behind you in your mirror. It's a good idea to glance in your side mirror in the direction of the turn before turning in. There may be a car overshooting the corner to the inside. It could be somebody with brake failure. In this case, turning in would have a bad outcome. Looking for outs or clear paths. I am discussing this topic right after SA, as good SA includes finding and knowing your outs should something go wrong. When you go to a track, use the first lap or two to look for potential problems and clear escape paths. A surprise off-track excursion will be a startle moment. If it happens in an area with obstructions and you did not pre-plan an escape area, you might be in for an unhappy ending. There is an off-camber turn at Coda with clear runoff to the outside of the track. If you get startled and overcorrect, you will likely find yourself cutting back across the track, potentially hitting other cars or hitting the barrier on the inside. In an emergency, look in the direction you need to go and your hands will follow. Lock these escape paths into your memory banks and look to them if a crisis arises. Flag stations. Flag station awareness is a big part of having good SA at the track. It is imperative that you have enough track awareness to see flag stations. Lacking this awareness will prevent you from moving up to higher run groups. Flags are used by track officials to communicate to drivers, and this communication is essential to track safety. Use your warm-up laps at reduced speeds to locate occupied flag stations. Whenever a flagger is presenting a flag, give them a wave to let them know you see it. The flagger is communicating to you. Complete the communication circle by acknowledging the flag with a wave, and it's a good idea to wave inside your car versus out the window so your wave does not get mistaken for a point to pass. For HPDE flags and their meanings, see video 3 of this series. Speed and lap times. When new to HPDE or new to a track, don't focus on speed or lap times. Take your time and learn properly. Speed and lap times will come later. Being overly focused on speed and lap times will generally lead to errors and going off track early during the learning phase. After you get comfortable, speed and lap times are made in the corners and also by minimizing coasting. Ideally, you'd go from the gas pedal to the brake pedal and back. If you have a vocal track timer that coaches you, I would not recommend using it when new to HPDE. It may coach you right off track. Straight sections of the track. Basically, these sections come down to horsepower. Your car will only go as fast as it will go in the straights. Most of your time will be made and lost in the corners. Having said that, you can affect your performance in the straights by hitting a late apex on entry and exit of the straights, effectively making the straights longer. With your late apex, you can also work on getting on throttle sooner on corner exit, heading into the straight, as well as braking later at the end of the straight. I will cover this in detail in just a bit, but for now, this takes me to anatomy of a corner. Corners will reveal the differences between fast track veterans and novice track rookies. Get your head up and look through the turns. Look for brake markers, apex cones if present, and track out points. Basic corner management is outside, inside, outside to give the corners the largest radius, which allow for higher speeds. Big circles allow for big speeds. Corner management will make or break your lap times. Time is made up in the corners by braking later, turning later, and getting back on throttle sooner. This will lead to higher speeds at the end of straights. As a refresher, I need to hit the highlights on some corner terms and definitions from video 3. Turn-in point, where you begin to turn the steering wheel to enter the corner. Track out point, opposite of the turn-in point. It is on corner exit where the car is starting to go straight again after the turn. Apexes. The geometric apex is in the middle of the turn, also known as mid-apex. This is your standard outside, inside, outside line with the apex located on the inside of the turn. You are increasing the radius of the turn so you can carry more speed. In this drawing you can see early, geometric/mid, and late apexes in red, blue, and green respectively. First up, early apex, also known as early turn-in. New track drivers tend to turn in before the correct turn-in point. They see the corner approaching and turn in early, which they think is safer. It is not. This would be an early apex, which means you are getting to the inside edge of the track prior to the midpoint of the turn. Your apex is before the mid-apex. With an early apex, you have decreased line of sight, and the majority of the direction change or rotation of the car is later, post-apex, with less margin for error. You'll have a greater potential for overcooking the corner and ending up off track. It also commits you to the outside line on corner exit, which better be unobstructed. If you turn in early, you need to be patient getting back on throttle, as your steering wheel will still be tightly wound post-apex. This will result in a slower corner exit speed. The only time an early apex for a single corner would make logical sense would be for an increasing radius turn, which is not common. This is the number one reason rookies end up off track. Next would be the geometric or mid-apex, where you hit the inside edge of the track midway through the turn. It is often stated that this is the fastest way through just a single corner when we aren't worried about maximizing exit speed for a following straightaway. This better serves lower horsepower momentum cars that need to keep their speed up through corners, but mid-apexes can be beneficial for all cars in the rain or other instances where grip is reduced. It is a more flowing line requiring less grip in the corners. Finally, we have the late apex, which more often than not is the best corner strategy. It gives improved line of sight and allows you to get on throttle sooner. A late apex turn gets you pointed down track earlier, post-apex, allowing you to get back on throttle, resulting in a higher track out speed. More degrees of car rotation occur pre-apex when on a late apex line. These three apexes will have different views out the front windshield at their respective apex. Would you rather be looking at grass/wall at the apex or looking down track? The difference is huge. Pay attention to car rotation and where the majority of this rotation occurs, as in pre or post apex. Double apex and connected turns. I defined a double apex in the previous video. There's no need for a late apex on the double apex corner. For a standard double apex corner, I take a slightly early to geometric apex line for the first turn going into the double apex, depending on track layout. For a complex series of connected turns, pick where you want to exit the last turn and work your way backwards. You may have a throwaway turn that you need to take a less than ideal line or slower speed to set up better for a subsequent more important turn. The most important turn is one that precedes a straight section of the track. Hitting it correctly allows for a faster corner exit going into the straight and a higher speed at the end of the straight. Turning in late. Turning in past the correct turn-in point will result in you scrubbing off too much speed, which will be needed to make the tighter turn. If you don't scrub off the speed, you run the risk of missing the turn entirely and ending up off track. Turning too late will cause you to miss the apex. You will be wide on the turn and your track out speed will be lower. Camber of turns. Most turns will be flat. Some will be sloped in the direction of the turn, called on camber. These corners will have increased grip as the suspension loads, otherwise known as compression. The car pushes downward, allowing for higher speeds. The flip side would be an off-camber turn which slopes away from the intended turn. The suspension will unload in an off-camber turn with less car weight pushing downward, reducing lateral grip. There is a natural tendency of a car to slide to the outside of a turn. It is worse with an off-camber turn. With an off-camber turn, jumping off throttle, or worse yet, hitting the brakes, both lead to pucker moments. The rear of your car will unload, which will likely lead to a slide or spin as your rear end kicks out. Set your corner speed beforehand and use maintenance throttle as appropriate through the off-camber corner, which I will cover in a bit. This is a good time to touch on a topic from the last video. Weight to transfer and tire friction. I talked about the friction circle in video 3. Your tires have a maximum friction grip number. This applies to loads in all directions, whether accelerating, braking, or turning. Maximum turning grip occurs when you are neither accelerating nor braking using the full available tire G for turning. When you command friction for braking or acceleration, you take it away from corner friction. Think of it as a transfer of friction. This is why we cannot mash the gas or brake at the apex of the turn when the steering wheel has a large offset from center. Steering, gas, and brake pedal management in the corners. Imagine two strings wound around the steering wheel and attached to the gas and brake pedals. The most string available for brake and gas pedal travel is when the steering wheel is unwound at top dead center. As you wind the steering wheel into a turn, string is taken up and pulls up on the brake pedal. Same on corner exit in reverse with regards to the gas pedal. We feed in more and more throttle as the steering wheel unwinds, lengthening the string, making more gas pedal travel possible. It's a good time to talk throttle management in turns and its effect on your turning radius. After you've been track driving for a while, you start seeing tracks in different light. You see them as a series of arcs, flowing connected arcs. You begin looking for efficient ways to connect these arcs, and good efficient ways to connect these arcs is by using your right foot. Your steering wheel manages arcs or circles, but so can your right foot. You can develop the skill in double apex corners as well as big sweeping corners. A new track driver will manage these turns with steering alone. A track veteran will set a steering angle and manage this radius with throttle. Only fine-tuning adjustments with steering wheel as necessary. As you increase throttle, your circle gets bigger. As you gently decrease throttle, your circle gets smaller. If you find yourself opening up the steering wheel to manage the corner into a larger radius, your car is telling you that you could be going faster. You could leave your steering angle set and gently increase throttle to make your circle larger and make the corner geometry work. This is a 180-degree turn carousel at Road America. I've got the steering angle set, managing the radius with my right foot. You can see me starting to slide out here. So I gently decrease throttle and it tightens up the circle. Also gives me a late apex coming out of the corner. For anyone that wakeboards or snowboards, you know the value of being on an edge versus having the board flat. Think of your car on a turning arc as being on an edge. Stay on your current edge or arc until intersecting the next edge or arc when going through a series of connected or close turns. Don't roll out straight and accept your fate when you can stay on an arc and improve your geometry going into the next corner. Maintenance throttle. What is it? I use this term when coaching students. Think of it as mid-throttle. You're holding the gas pedal position, not increasing throttle nor lifting your foot. Favoring a hint of acceleration is usually desired. This will keep a neutral balanced car without weight shift for direction changes at speed, i.e. driving through the corner using maximum tire G available to rotate the car about the turn. You can also think of it as keeping the rear end planted. Hence the hint of acceleration, which transfers some weight aft, but not so much that you are now trading quartering G for acceleration G. If you mash the gas pedal, the ass end will likely slide out. If you abruptly hop off the gas pedal, weight will shift forward off the rear tires, and once again the ass end will typically step out. Which takes us to oversteer versus understeer. I defined these terms in the last video, but it's time to dig a little deeper on the subject. For those of you who have driven on icy roads, oversteer and understeer have been blatantly obvious. When the ass end slides out and tries to pass the front end, you still have traction with the front tires, but the rear tires have broken loose. This is oversteer. Drifting is oversteer. Conversely, when you were driving on ice and turned the steering wheel only to go straight, you still had traction with the rear tires, but had lost traction with the front. This is understeer. A horsepower car typically has big power and big brakes. You'll experience significant weight shift during acceleration and braking. This weight shift plays into oversteer and understeer. Braking shifts weight to the front tires, which can also be described as loading the front end. This unloads the rear end. You will have increased traction with the front tires and decreased traction with the rear tires while braking. Turning the steering wheel aggressively while braking will likely lead to oversteer. Some drivers will use this to their advantage to rotate the car in the corner, a sort of steering with the rear. Conversely, heavy throttle transfers weight aft, adding traction to the rear tires and reducing weight as well as traction on the front. Turning the steering wheel aggressively while under heavy throttle will likely lead to understeer. You can manage this over and understeer with brakes, throttle, and ultimately steering wheel deflection. Sawing of the steering wheel. First off, I am not a sawer. I tend to be smooth on the steering wheel. Sawing of the wheel is essentially searching for grip limits. Keep in mind though that every jerk of the steering wheel leads to a wiggle of the rear end. I prefer smooth, but I understand why some people saw the wheel. They are trying to keep the car on the ragged edge and are going in and out of tire slip. I recommend working on being smooth. If you want to explore sawing of the wheel later on, do so cautiously. Sawing can fall in the overdriving category, which can lead to excess tire temps, causing ballooning and loss of traction. You will also wear out your tires more quickly. The less the hands move, the better. Smooth is fast and is also easier on the equipment and body as well as wallet. Braking. Street braking and track braking are quite different. On the street, you ease into the brake pedal, increasing pressure as the car slows to a stop. The only time you mash the pedal is in the case of a panic stop. Think of braking at the track as a panic stop. You absolutely mash the pedal at the beginning of the brake zone. Some might say to ease into the pedal on first application to get the car to settle and then mash the pedal. I mash on initial application. A word of caution though, check your mirrors. If you have somebody right behind you, they may not have the same braking capability you do. Their reaction time may also be slower. In these cases, get on the brakes sooner and don't mash the pedal. Assuming no one is on your rear bumper, the best track braking is full gas to the brake zone followed by absolutely standing on the brake pedal. Think of it as stabbing the brake pedal. You pounce on the pedal. As your turn-in point approaches, you adjust brake pedal pressure as needed based on too much, just enough, or too little braking going into the corner. You'll most likely find that you got on the brakes a little too early and need to ease up on pedal pressure prior to the corner. When to brake comes with experience. When new to HPDE, you should start by doing all of your braking in a straight line, i.e. doing all your braking before your turn-in point for the corner. With experience, you can delay your brake application, which takes us to the next topic, trail braking. Trail braking is like a mirror image of a good corner exit with proper throttle management. On corner exit, you don't wait until the car is completely straight to get back on throttle. You feed in the throttle while still in the turn when the steering wheel is unwinding during corner exit to your track out point. Same concept with trail braking in reverse. Remember that friction circle I talked about? We are putting it to good use when trail braking. Traditional braking is all done in a straight line. This is the best strategy for a novice. Trail braking is when you delay your brake application a bit and then carry that braking into the turn. You will not yet have achieved your corner speed at your turn-in point and must continue braking past your turn-in point. This shifts your brake application point a bit further down the track, closer to the corner, and allows you to stay on throttle longer before transitioning to braking. When it's time to brake, stab the brake pedal when the car is straight and your steering wheel is top dead center, and then start easing off the pedal as you wind the steering wheel into the corner. Remember, your tires have a maximum grip G. If they are using all available grip for braking, there is no excess grip remaining for turning. You exchange one for the other going into the corner. Trail braking is smoothly trailing off the brake pedal as you wind the steering wheel into the corner, not jumping off the pedal all at once, which upsets the car in the turn. Brake fade, loss of brakes. Pay attention to how your brake pedal feels at the track. If it starts to get spongy or goes further to the floor than normal, you are heading towards brake loss. I spoke about brake fluid in video 2 of this series, so I won't be rehashing the discussion again. Just know that if your brake fluid boils, you will lose brakes. If you lose brakes heading into a corner, take the outside line. Don't be on the inside of cars turning in on the corner. You will potentially T-bone them. Go to the outside of the turn. Brakes usually give advance notice of failure. Heed those warnings. If you have brake loss, you will likely discover this when you need brakes, i.e. heading into a corner. Hopefully the corner you are heading into has good runoff or a good clear escape path. These escape paths should have been identified beforehand so you aren't looking for a safe path in a crisis. Brake failure strategies. Get off the throttle. Sounds intuitive, but a panicked driver may keep their foot on the gas. Look where you want to go. The car tends to go where the driver looks. Pump the brake pedal to see if pressure returns. Downshift for engine braking, but this can cause an over rev and spin. Use your emergency brake, but know that it does not have ABS and a spin out is possible. Going off track straight greatly reduces your chances of a rollover, and if you're going to hit something, you want to hit with the front of your car versus a door. The front has crumple zones, which protects the occupants. If you're going to hit a wall, put your hands in your lap to prevent breaking your wrists. Lower your helmet visor if raised and relax prior to impact. Don't brace. Let your seatbelt or harness do their work. Left foot braking. First off, I am not a left foot braker. I use my right foot for gas and brake pedals. Some drivers use their left foot for braking and the right foot for the gas pedal. The idea is you can eliminate the delay you get from moving your right foot off of the gas pedal and onto the brake pedal. You can also help eliminate the effects of turbo lag by keeping some revs on the engine while braking. If you want to explore this, I would not recommend trying this at the track for the first time. Your left foot is not calibrated for brake pedal pressure, and you might surprise yourself while learning this technique. Time to talk hand signals. Pass left, pass right, no T-Rex arms, no fake left, pass right. One complete point for each car pass. Pit. Tapping the rearview mirror lets the driver behind you know that you see them if you need to delay the pass for any reason. Turn signals may be used for passing if a vehicle has fixed windows or when driving in heavy rain with the windows up. You flash the turn signal to the side you want the car to pass you on. A word of caution about turn signals for passing though, no one forgets and leave their arm out the window. Drivers have, however, miscanceled their turn signal when signaling for a pass. If you come up on a car that has their turn signal on, I would be quite hesitant to pass this car as the driver very well may not know you're about to pass and could turn into you. Track exit, heading into pit lane. Be on the exit side of the track when you intend to exit. Do not cross traffic. Some organizations will use hazard flashers as an indication you are heading to the pits, and this is common for night track events or when the windows are up due to heavy rain. Use common sense when heading to pit lane with passing traffic. Normally a vehicle signaling heading to the pits can be passed as if they are giving you a point by. Check with your organization's rules. Passing. This will be a little bit of a longer discussion because it can be the most challenging thing you do at the track. Passing depends on your run group level and your organization's rules, but basically you can either pass in designated straights only or pass anywhere along the track. Both require a point by, so both parties are in agreement on the pass. Think of passing as a contract between two parties. Both parties must agree to the pass before it is executed. When you find yourself behind a slower driver that is not given the point by, the number one thing is to stay calm. Don't get agitated and start pressuring him. The driver ahead might be on their very first track day and may be completely task saturated. It could also be their first session in an advanced run group with an instructor providing guidance from the right seat. Move up close and offset slightly to a side to present the pass. This shows the lead driver your intent that you wish to pass. If the pass is not given in a reasonable amount of time, back off. No need to stay tight pressuring the driver. Once you get to the next good passing area, i.e. a straight, move up and present the pass again. If the lead driver is still not getting the hint, follow the guidance I have in the next train conductor topic. If this is occurring in an advanced group, the driver holding up traffic should not be in the advanced group. They lack the required awareness or etiquette. Talk with an instructor about the situation. Passing and what immediately follows a pass will be some of your most challenging moments at the track. As an instructor, I tell my students that your highest propensity to go off track is the corner immediately following a pass. You are typically offline, faster, and jazzed when executing a pass. The pass starts with a clear arm signal. When executing a pass, the lead driver should get off throttle as needed to facilitate the pass, especially in a horsepower car. Don't drag race to the next corner. You are setting up the passing driver to go off track. This is particularly true with lower run groups or when passing is not allowed in the corners. Be courteous and predictable. The basic rule for HPDE passing is for the lead car to stay online with the passing car going offline. This is so both parties are predictable. No one is shucking and jiving at the last minute. Having said that, if I see someone coming in hot from a distance when in an advanced group, I'll move offline before they get anywhere close and give them the race line to keep them on their pace. I typically do this when I am cooling down to leave the session early and running much slower than others still at speed. The worst thing to do is be unpredictable. Don't move left or right with a car coming in fast right behind you. The driver coming in hot knows where you are right now. They don't know where you are going if you do a late move. This can lead to a collision. To repeat the official party answer, the lead car stays online and the passing car moves offline. Also, as the car in the back, don't dive to the inside of a turn when the person in front has not given a pass. Stay in trail behind the lead car when close, even if this is not your line. If you dive inside and overshoot the turn, a collision is likely. You also don't know if the driver ahead is staying wide with plans to dive in hard on a turn, i.e. a late apex. It's all bad. Stay in trail even if you plan a different line through that particular turn. Just follow the car ahead if you are close. If you are far enough back, then you can drive your own different line through the turn without issues. The driver in the rear has an excellent view of the car ahead and will see if there is a conflict or clearance problem. The driver ahead is using their mirrors, has blind spots, and might view the car diving to the inside as a collision threat. I have been there. If you are farther back, feel free to drive your line as opposed to staying in trail. This is actually what I teach. Drive your line, not the car's line ahead. If you are in tight, this changes though. If given the pass in a turn, don't go way wide around the car to pass. The lead car will lose the passing car in blind spots. Way wide is often thought of as safer by new track drivers. It is not. Stay within 2 car widths when passing alongside. When both drivers know where everyone is, the pass is executed more smoothly for all. When you move up to passing anywhere, including in the corners, you must be extra courteous to other drivers to avoid bending metal in the turns. In wheel-to-wheel racing, this gets into who owns the corner and who has the right-of-way. If the passing car's nose is a beam or in front of the front wheels of the car getting passed, the car executing the pass owns the corner and the other yields. HPDE is not wheel-to-wheel racing though. Playing nicely and good common sense, courtesy is expected. If both parties think they own the corner and have the right to their line, it's going to get expensive. When in doubt, yield to the other car. As the lead car given the point by, leave an open lane for the driver coming up from behind. If the car is coming up from behind on your left during a left-hand turn, don't dive down left to the apex of the turn as the lead driver. You would cut off the lane of the rear car executing the pass. Don't forget you can always wave off a pass and wait for a better location. Remember, a pass is a contract between 2 parties. Both must agree. As I mentioned earlier, if you don't take the pass, get in trail behind the lead car if you are reasonably close. This will keep you out of the lead car's blind spots. Also worth mentioning, be careful pressuring newbies to the track or your group. You can typically see that a driver is maxed out, i.e. task saturated. It would not be wise to park on the rear bumper of a driver like this, especially if going into a corner. Don't forget, you can always pass somebody that has their fist outside the window indicating they are heading into the pits. One last point on passing, deciding which side of the car you want to be passed. For long straights, either side works. For passing with a corner coming up or in a turn, it's a good idea to have the car pass you on the side that you're turning into for the corner, i.e. have the car pass you on the right side for a right turn and the left side for a left turn. This puts the passing driver on the inside of the turn, which has a couple of benefits. First off, as the lead driver, you are looking into the turn. If the car is coming up alongside you in the same direction you are looking, both the corner and the other car are in sight. Secondly, as I mentioned earlier, the highest propensity to go off track is the corner immediately following a pass. The chance of going off track increases if the passing car is on the outside of a turn. Train conductor or holding up traffic. After the passing discussion, it's a good time to talk about train conductors. Don't be a train conductor. A train conductor is a slow car with a stack of other cars stuck behind them waiting for the pass signal. If a car has worked their way up behind you, they have earned the right for a pass. Give them the point to pass at the earliest authorized spot. If you have traffic stuck behind you, expect a blue flag. You see this quite a bit in the novice group with drivers unaware that a car or 2 or 5 are stuck behind them waiting for the pass signal. There's no excuse for this in the advanced group, especially when passing is allowed anywhere. If this occurs, you are not yet ready for the advanced group. Being stuck in traffic can lead to frustration. If you are looking for a fast lap and are stuck in traffic, your options are: number 1, work your way up through the traffic pass by pass. Number 2, slow down, hang back, and create space, then let it rip. Number 3, pull into the hot pit lane and wait for a nice gap before going back on track. Momentum cars and horsepower cars will have advantages on different parts of the track. If you are the horsepower car that had a Miata closing behind you in the turns, give the point by and try hanging with the lighter car in the turns. Once you get to the straights again, the momentum car should return the favor and offer the pass back. Don't hold up traffic knowing there's a section of track coming up where you will be faster. If a car is behind you and you are in an authorized passing zone, give the point and offer the pass. Trading leads back and forth with another car that has different advantages is good etiquette, good training, and good fun. Fuel level. I talked about fuel more in depth in video 3, but as a refresher, keep an eye on your fuel state. Don't be the driver that runs out of gas on the track. Going off track. There are those that have and those that will. Once you start pushing yourself in the car, you will explore the edges of the track. Novices to advanced drivers have found themselves off track. The difference being a novice driver will typically not know why they went off track. It is often an early turn-in and a bad line going into a corner that leads to track departure. Advanced drivers have much better track awareness and will usually know exactly why they went off track. Check with your organization's rules, but if you drop 1 or 2 wheels off the track surface, it is usually no harm, no foul. If you go 4 off, you will often receive a black flag to get you to head in. They want to look over your car to make sure all is well and have a quick chat about what happened. If you don't see a black flag, it's a good idea to self-report and head in for an official to do a quick exterior check of your car. You'll typically do this in the hot pits area and will only take a minute. You usually are cleared right back on track after a short chat. When you are going off track, look where you want the car to go. If you look at an obstruction, you very well might end up going towards that obstruction. The hands follow the eyes. You want the car to go off in a controlled manner. Keep the car straight versus sliding sideways. Grass can be slick, especially when damp. It is much like ice. If you are sliding with your wheel turned off track and come back onto a section of the track with good traction, a spin is likely. Think smaller, more controlled steering inputs, limiting your steering between 11 and 1 o'clock with no major inputs. If you are sliding off to the outside of the track and you try to save it, there is a good chance you will cut back across the track, possibly hitting other cars or obstructions to the infield. If you come to a stop off track, look for a flag station for guidance. If none are in sight, make sure the track is clear before re-entering it. If you have mud on your tires, try to drive offline for a bit so you don't pollute the race line with your mud. If you hit something, shut your car off. Make sure you and your passenger are okay. Do not take off your helmet or remove your restraints. Stay in your vehicle unless it is on fire. Which takes me to the next subject, track incident. The only time you ever get out of your car is if it is on fire. You run the risk of getting hit. In an incident, first check yourself, make sure you are okay. Then check your passenger or instructor if you have one. Lastly, assess the car from the driver's seat. Next is to wait for a track official. They will come to you. Red mist. Be careful of the red mist. Red mist is when you drive letting your emotions get the better of you. It could be a car that passed you, triggering you to drive more aggressively, trying to catch it. You end up driving with a reckless narrow focus, letting your discipline go out the window. Drive relaxed with a clear head. If someone else is being an idiot on track, don't be an idiot in return. It will be noticed. Checkered flag and cooldown. When the checkered flag is shown at flag stations, it's time to slow down and cool down. Use the opportunity to dial it back to give your brakes and engine time to cool. I switched the training to manual mode in my GT500 and downshift for corners, trying to avoid using the brakes. When you get back to the paddock, do not set the parking brake. They can fuse to hot rotors or cause warping. Between sessions. Track days can be busy and hectic at times, especially if you are dealing with car issues. When you come off track, take a second to collect your wits and then get busy prepping for the next session. Things to do include fuel, tire pressures, check tire and brake pad health, check your fluids as necessary, dump oil catch cans, clean windshield, charge camera and phone batteries, and lastly hit the head and hydrate. If you start chatting with people, there is a higher likelihood you will forget something like fuel or tire pressures before heading out for your next session. Passengers. When initially cleared to run solo, you will typically not be allowed to carry passengers. Some organizations will have a passenger sign-off allowing you to carry passengers at some point. Organizations often require passengers to sign waivers and get wristbands. There might be a small fee as well. Make sure your passenger knows the rules. Tell them to keep their arms inside the car. Make sure their helmet chin strap is secure and they are buckled in properly. Some organizations will not allow handheld cameras or phones. Have your passenger put their phone in airplane or silent mode. Lastly, do not let your passenger be a distraction and be careful of the watch this mentality. Last session. As the day goes on until later afternoon, be aware of your mental and physical state. How did you sleep going into this track day? Are you feeling the effects of fatigue? Have you been sweating all day? Have you been staying hydrated? I tell my students to dial it back on their last session. Don't try to set your new personal best at the end of the day. Your reflexes are slower and you're likely worn out from a long day of fun. Go out on the last session and work on fundamentals, or use the time to look around the track at different aspects. Anything but balls to the wall full send. Night track events. Night track events are both fun and challenging. Some tracks are partially lit while others are super dark. Many of your visual cues you use during the day will be absent. You might not be able to see brake markers, apex cones, and track out points. I personally would not drive a track at night that I have not learned well during the day. Most track vehicle headlights shine straight ahead. When you are in a hard turn, turning into a dark section of the track, your headlights will not be shining where you are going. You very well may be turning into total darkness. You will rely on muscle memory and sounds. I have driven Coda at night a few times. However, I have countless daytime laps there and know the track well. Once my visual cues were severely reduced, I relied heavily on timing, also known as muscle memory. I also use the sound of my engine RPMs and gear to know when to turn and when to brake. These are data points stored in your head from tracks you know well. You just don't normally rely on these data points as your eyes are number one during the day. 3-pedal cars and downshifting. We often downshift multiple times on the street, coming to a stop or into turns. Why? Because it's fun and it sounds cool. This can lead to problems on the track though. You can break rear tire traction by downshifting and popping the clutch. Traction control only works with power application. It will not assist when engine compression causes rear tires to lose traction. Your downshift mindset should be about selecting the proper gear to drive through and out of the corner. Remember the discussion on maintenance throttle. This is why you are downshifting prior to a corner. You have a brake pedal for slowing the car. Avoid the mindset of downshifting to slow the car on the track. Also know that your engine's rev limiter can be exceeded by downshifting into too low of a gear and letting out the clutch. Don't drive with one hand resting on the shifter. Drive with both hands on the wheel, only taking one out briefly to shift. Lastly, with 3-pedal cars, remember the saying, in a spin, 2 feet in. If you go into a spin, press the brake and clutch pedals to keep the engine from stalling. Heel toe. Heel toe downshifting is an advanced technique using different parts of your right foot on both the gas and brake pedal to blip the throttle when downshifting in a 3-pedal car to rev match for the next gear. It would be best to initially practice this on the street and not at the track. Heel toe driving requires lots of practice to perfect. Cars with built-in rev matching do not need this driver technique. So that's it for video 4 in this series. I covered track day driving, anatomy of a corner, weight transfer, friction circles, track versus street braking, brake fade, brake loss, hand signals, passing, going off track, track incidents, hauling passengers, night track events, 3-pedal car clutch management, and heel toe. Remember, if you have other tips, tricks, hacks, or disagree with something I've said, please contribute and add it to the comments below. Be sure to check out video 5, which starts with coming off track for your last session of the day and covers post-track day maintenance. Thanks for watching and have fun at the track.